Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to There's No Crying in Crochet. We are the podcast where we try to take everyday frustrations and we try to give you some solutions for them. We also like to touch on lots of different crochet related subjects. Today's going to be a fun one, but let's go ahead and get some business done before we do that. I am Biz from Busy Crochet, and this is my cohort in crime.
I am Debbie from Madam Stitch.
And we are here every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central. So make sure that you follow us if you are on YouTube so that you will get our updates and notifications. And I'm Busy Crochet, and she is Madam Stitch Crochet. Make sure that you throw the crochet on the end of there, or you're going to end up with somebody different. But just look for her cute. She's got this cute little banner that she has on there. So anyway,
it's all about the granny squares, darling. It's
it
all
is
about
the granny squares. We live for them. So also, if you're following on Facebook, make sure that you give StreamYard the permission to see your name, so that if you comment and you chat with us today or any day, we can see who you are, because we like to talk to people. We'll talk to you if you're an anonymous user too, and we aren't that proud, but
we talk to everybody.
We talk to everybody. But today's subject is going to be, because May is set aside as Mental Health Awareness Month. And, excuse me, we are going to talk about crochet's contribution to that.
Yeah.
How to use crochet to help your mental health.
And we know a lot about that, don't we, Biz?
We do. We use it on the regular to keep ourselves. I was telling Debbie before we started, I'm like, I'm in a poopy mood today. So I know that I'm going to be, as soon as we're done, I'm digging out some yarn, because I'm actually on the verge of starting my granddaughter's baby blanket. Finally, she's only 9 months old. So yeah, I'm going to be doing some mental health, work today when I'm done.
Absolutely.
But okay, so today we decided that we were going to talk about, might be a controversial subject for some people. And we are by no way trying to offend anyone, to bring up a subject that is so controversial that we're possibly alienating anyone.
And we're not experts in the subject of mental health. This is not our area of expertise.
We are not doctors.
We're simply exactly. So we're simply, well, you don't know, I might have a PhD in something else. But anyway, I do not. But we're approaching this from the standpoint that we all have to deal with our well-being, our emotional well-being, and our mental health. It's a daily thing that we, take care of our physical selves, but we also take care of our mental health selves. And part of that can be crochet, and that's how we're approaching it today.
Yes, exactly. And I'm glad that you said that, because the subject that we're going to be talking about, it is about how crochet has been used as a rehabilitation, a way for people to stop having negative impact and start having positive impact. So we're going to talk about crochet in prisons, because I'm fascinated by the subject, and I wanted to look up and see, because I've watched several programs about rehabilitation programs within prisons, and I know that there are people who feel like if you're in prison, you don't deserve to have any kind of rehabilitation, or just do your time, you did the crime kind of thing. I'm not trying to poo-poo away any of the serious side of it at all. All I'm looking at when I see things like rehabilitation within prisons is that, do we have an opportunity to watch a person not hang out with the negative side, but instead hang out with something more positive that can help them work through negative issues, help them, like us, when we sit down and we de-stress in front of the TV, maybe they're distressing from, there's so much negativity and so much violence inside prisons that it's hard for them to not walk out with that same attitude if there's nothing else in between.
Mm-hmm. I
Sorry, I
agree.
didn't preach. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, this is my ignorance about what goes on inside prisons. I mean, my information is a lot from fictional TV.
Mm,
I don't watch documentaries. I don't read a lot about what goes on
mm-hmm,
in prison, but I know that because of the nature of how the prison system is set up, it takes a lot more resources
mm-hmm,
for the prison to simply do something beyond just housing prisoners
mm-hmm,
and keeping them fed, clothed, and safe
mm-hmm.
from the outside world, right? So, having a program, or in some of the instances that you were talking about, prisoners actually found um, these crochet projects on their own
Mm,
and started it apart from the
mm-hmm.
administration of the prison. So they found the benefit in doing a crochet. It's not for everybody, right?
Right.
But for some people, it was very effective in creating a positive way of dealing with all of the negative things that you said in
Mm-hmm.
prison. For instance, one story I read, the inmate talked about one of the first things that happens when you go into prison is that you have to find your place in the society, because there's a society set up in a culture set up in prison,
Absolutely.
and you have to figure out your place
Mm-hmm.
in the hierarchy.
Right.
And and that can be really difficult for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Staying out of trouble, staying out of the thick of things, kind of staying in the fringe. Crochet helped this one inmate find his place and find a way to deal with the anxiety of having to
Mm-hmm.
find his place in the prison
Right.
community. Um, and it doesn't work for everybody, but he was able to he built a community. We always talk about building a community
Yeah.
around
Yep.
crochet. This is the part that really fascinates me and just brings me such joy, because we know here in our relatively safe world, we build a community of crochet around us because we know the benefit of sharing it with other people.
Yes.
In prison, with men especially, I mean, men, in high society, men don't crochet.
Right.
So this is right out there, putting themselves out there to begin with. And then second of all, to be able to build a community of other guys
Yeah.
who are willing to crochet with them. And then this one inmate that I read about, he has a family,
Mm-hmm.
and his prison time negatively affects his family.
Mm-hmm.
But he was able to crochet things for his son, who he wanted to be a positive influence to, even though he was in prison. He crocheted things for him and gifted him the things that
Yeah.
he crocheted. And he incorporated his son's interest into that crochet. So he was making toys out of
Still
things
making a
that he
connection.
enjoyed.
Yeah.
Right. I was fascinated by that story. I mean, I know it's not common, but whenever it can happen, I think it's a fabulous thing to help
Yeah.
people.
I read, excuse me, I probably watched 4 or 5 different videos, read a bunch of different articles, just really wanted to get information about this, because not every program is the same. Sometimes within the prison itself, it's not actually a program. Like you said, it's something that they've started on their own. And one of the, like, there's a difference. So there was one in like Oklahoma, and there was one in Texas, and these were like funded by, they bought their own yarn, they bought their own hooks. They're only allowed to have plastic ones that are, like bendable and
Right.
flexible, that kind of stuff. But there was one in Utah who it was funded by donations and stuff like that. So they only, like, they couldn't keep it for themselves unless they purchased the material. But this one particular, like, everything that they made had to be donated. So all the
Mhm.
blankets, everything had to be donated. So they would, bags and bags of stuff would go out into the community. They were giving back into the community the best way that they can right now. like they're
Right.
doing their time, but they're also, trying to impact the community in a positive manner and kind of begin to pay that debt back. And I just see it as a positive way where these people can be. I mean, if you come out of a negative situation with something that you can do positively and something that helps you to work through your negative emotions, you're going to be far less likely to be driven back into that old lifestyle and to continue to
Mhm.
perpetuate.
Right. I think we're not all hot wired to give back to
Right,
our community.
right.
And we, as a culture, especially in America, we're sort of sliding back into being a little bit self-centered, protect our
Mhm.
family, focus
Us more
on
and no
what
more kind of thing.
our needs, right? So
Right.
we don't always think outside the walls of our own home and our own small communities. But ha- he, one of the points that we have in our outline is creating opportunities for altruism. So the this case, they were only able to give back to the community if they crocheted. That carries on to their life after prison.
Mhm,
Now they have that mentality that, oh, I did this thing, I spent time making it, I spent time doing it.
mhm,
I can go out and find other opportunities to do the same thing
mhm,
in my community when I return. It might not necessarily be
mhm,
crochet, but it could be some other way, like, serving a soup kitchen or um,
mhm,
helping with a community group clean up public space or something. Things that you would normally think of, but are
mhm,
great ways to give back to the community. So it gives them a sense of accomplishment, a sense
mhm,
of giving back, a sense of engaging in that community that they didn't
mhm.
have before, maybe.
Right. Well, and everybody needs to feel needed. There's a lot
Hmm.
of us who are like, I don't need people, I don't need this, I don't need that. Everybody needs to be needed in some way or another. Otherwise, what purpose do we have? You know what I mean? And so people who find a purpose, something that can kind of help to push them forward. And I've read about several of them that have come out of that prison system and gone on to be teachers in their communities,
Hmm.
helping with homeless shelters and teaching crochet and stuff like that to other people, to kids, to this, that, like
Hmm.
obviously within appropriate situations. But I just find it very interesting looking at how and reading through these articles how much I could relate to them.
Hmm.
I'm not in the same situation as you. I'm not, I didn't do this or that and get myself incarcerated. However, I am using the exact same tool, the exact same hobby in order to affect the mental health for myself, just living
Right.
in my house. And
Right.
it was just so relatable.
Now,
Teaching patience and perseverance.
yep. And emotional regulation and anger management. I
Yes,
mean, when was the last time you wanted to throw something against the wall?
right.
We all suffer from these same things, maybe not to the same degree, but there are so many benefits to crochet that it makes sense that it would translate so well into a prison environment. And I'm not trying to be um, gender specific here. I was making the comment a while ago about how it was interesting. I think that men are doing this in prison, but I was reading an article about a minimum security uh, facility for women
Hmm.
who a lot of times will be single mothers, or they haven't done anything wrong. They've been incarcerated because they can't pay a bill, or they
Hmm.
can't for some other reason that seems minor to us, but they're in a minimum security facility. And
Hmm.
there was an instance of one group of women who formed a crochet group, and they made blankets for the local
Oh, wow.
hospital,
Uh-huh.
right? And they donated all of their work. And they started to see the possibilities of how that might grow. beyond the walls of that facility.
Yeah.
So it helps to develop focus and concentration. What happens when you lose your concentration in a project?
Mm,
You make mistakes. So you have to
mhm.
focus on it, and that translates into the broader prospect of our lives, where we have to
Mm.
concentrate and focus on other things.
Yes. And it's easy to lose yourself in a project, like when we're looking at, well, I've got this big bill coming up, and do I sit and focus on this great big bill and freak out and stress out, or do I go over here and pick up some yarn and just lose myself in this for the moment, instead of stressing myself out and making myself sick over something that I
Mhm.
can't change at the moment? You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with someone who is incarcerated, who all of this negativity around them, all the things that they have to think about, how much their life is impacted, instead of concentrating all the time and spiraling
Mhm.
downward and just continuing to get more and more negative, they have this
Yep.
positive thing that they can, adjust their focus onto, relax their mind, and be able to think more clearly.
Mhm.
I mean, all of us deal with that, have that need to
We
think
do.
more clearly. And
Right.
so, I mean, I find the crochet in prison quite fascinating. I hope that others see that we're not trying to, um, I don't know, promote jail in any way. I mean, we're not trying to be insensitive to anybody's. If you've been impacted by something where someone has been sent to jail for something they did to you or towards you, our hearts go out to you. We are definitely not trying to hurt you in any way in that
No.
manner. But on the flip side of that same coin, those people that are incarcerated are human beings. And if there's a chance to rehabilitate them so they don't keep making those mistakes, if
Right.
they ever get out of jail, by all means, I think that it
No,
should be pursued.
absolutely. That should be our goal with all of them. You were talking about the dealing with the negativity.
Yeah.
It promotes positive social interaction. So,
Yes.
right? So again, we go back to that community. Finding place, we're all trying to find our place in the larger culture, in the larger community. Whether we think it impacts us directly or not, we're all still part of that larger community. And the same goes for prison. It's just a microcosm
Right.
instead of being that larger. They're stuck in this sort of little micro community, and
Hmm.
finding a way to have positive social interaction
Hmm.
instead of worrying about what's going to happen to them, I think is a
Right.
great thing. They look for peer support. There was a story that I read about this one guy who found one of his fellow inmates had a crochet, wasn't a business, but he had a crochet circle.
Okay.
And that's where he learned to crochet. He learned to crochet
Mm.
from this inmate who had been in longer than he was. Um, and it promoted that sense of mentoring, that sense of, okay, dude, you're
Mhm.
here. Let's see if we can make this time
Mhm.
productive or positive, or, what can we get out of it? And he learned to crochet from that guy, and it improves communication
Mhm.
skills,
It becomes a
right? So
whole
all of this,
therapy.
it's a whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that I also read is that in many of the prisons, they will not allow them to gather in large groups of people. They break it up
Right.
because it's too gang
Right.
related. However, like the crochet groups, they've not been breaking them up because there's not that there's no negativity, but it is far more positive.
Mhm.
And they are usually happy and joking around and all of that kind of stuff. And they don't have to worry about gang issues coming out of that group. Not saying that they don't. I mean, please don't send me nasty
We're
letters.
not experts. We're
No,
not
but
experts.
that's
But
from
can
what
you
we've read.
imagine how much easier, again, if you liken this to any group, like a group of pre-K kids trying
Yeah.
to do a group activity, when you get them all engaged in it, they're much less likely to be disciplinary problems.
Right.
It makes it so much easier on the environment that you're in,
Hmm.
for the guards, for the administration, for the inmates. It just makes it so much more helpful and positive for them,
Hmm.
that you're not dealing with those disciplinary problems like you usually do.
Absolutely. Okay, so like, let's move on. Just and I wanted to real quick. We have a little thingy that was written out, and I wanted to read it because Mental Health Awareness Month, observed in May, is an annual observance dedicated to raising awareness about mental health, reducing stigma, and promoting support for individuals and families affected by mental health conditions. It encourages conversations about mental well-being, excuse me, provides resources for those in need, and advocates for better mental health care. And so that's why we are jumping, excuse me, we are jumping on this train this month because we want to see you doing well mental health wise. We talk about it a lot all throughout the year anyway, because we use crochet as therapy for ourselves. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, let's move off of the prison aspect of it. Let's talk about just your everyday Joe on the street, the meditative power of repetition, that calming aspect of just working back and forth or around and around. Yep. And you just get lost in the motion.
So this is what my business is all about. This is what crochet has been about for me my entire life. It is a way for me to lose myself in creativity and calm the anxiety that I might have. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. I'm currently working on the road trip blanket. I'm doing the sample, and there are all kinds of techniques in it. There are bobbles, there's mosaic crochet, there are spike stitches, there are post stitches, it's filled with variety. Now, I know we've talked about this before about what my design style is, and as I work through this blanket, it's a stunning blanket, and it's going to be amazing for everybody who does it.
Yes, I can hardly wait to see it.
It's just amazing. However, it just clarifies for me why I like the stitches I do. Yeah. And that is, I love the basic stitches. I'm going to talk about your strip for a second.
Okay.
You had mentioned that you thought yours was plain, and I'm going to poo-poo that right now. As I was working your strip, it's all basic stitches. Yes. There aren't any texture stitches. It's just all basic stitches.
So out of my norm.
I know, but I'm going to tell you why I love it. From single crochet to treble crochet. And what you did in that strip was you used basic stitches to create a visual movement through the stitch. But what I loved about it, which is why I love crochet in the first place, I got into the pattern, and it was like I could close my eyes and feel the waves and touch the sand with my toes. I didn't have to think about it too much. I just got into the rhythm of the stitches. The yarn I'm using is so gorgeous to the touch. Nice. And it's beautiful colors. And I looked at your strip and I kept thinking, well, okay, we're going to do 180 single crochet. But when I looked at it, it was not in a straight line. It was this beautiful movement across the top of a curve. And it's the perfect example of why I love crochet for mindful, meditative moments. Another example is I have this intense fear of the dentist. Completely unfounded.
Really?
I've got one of the best dentists on the planet. I should love going to her, and I just don't. Well, I knew I had to have a crown, and I was freaking out. So I take my crochet to the waiting room and just pulled it out and started doing a granny square. And my heart rate went down. My hands stopped shaking. I was calm, and I went in. I still was nervous. I was fine once I got in there, but for me, it's my vehicle for just that repetition just goes, okay, you're going to be fine.
Yes.
Everything is going to be okay.
You're
And
gonna be okay.
that's what Madam Stitch is all about.
Yes, yes, you are gonna be
That was
okay.
a long way of talking, but
Oh,
your
no, I
strip
loved it.
was perfect for that.
I loved it. I mean, I like the way that you explain why you like simple stitches, and I am one of those people where, uh, texture, I'm obsessed with texture. However, when I was creating that, I wanted to just tell the story of a beach without having to create, like, froth, the waves and all of this
Mhm.
stuff, and it just needed to be something really simple. And I agree with you, the movement is just very calming to look at,
Yep.
and I love simplicity because simplicity can be extremely beautiful.
Mhm.
And, now I'm on the opposite side where usually I've gotta
You
have
find texture stitches
bubbles
meditative.
and front post crochets and third loop this and third loop that, and I mean,
There
it's
are
gotta be
so
every
many things.
there's something going on everywhere. But yeah, I mean, that's why that one was so out of the norm for me because I was trying to figure out how to could I somehow make a spike stitch that would make the dunes have like the dunes, the scruffy dune whatever that is that's
Mhm.
on there, the plants. I'm like, you know what, Biz, just stop it. Just put a strip of brown in there and move on with your life.
Let's go.
Go. But yeah, no, just that repetition is just such a beautiful thing. And we also talk about the emotional part that we get involved with our projects, like how much, like if you love the project, how much do you love the project and how much does it speak to you, you know what I mean? If you
Mhm.
hate the stitch that you're working on, how hard is it for you to finish? Is it an emotional piece for you? I mean, every project has its ups and downs, right?
And will you finish it? That's the
Right.
other. We've talked on and off over the years about works in progress in a pile. Well,
Yes.
if you're really honest about yourself, why did that work in progress get put aside in the first place?
Yes.
Sometimes it's circumstances, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
But I know I've put projects aside because they're just not moving the needle for me.
Yes. And you know what? It's okay. Let's talk about this from that mental health aspect of it. If you've
Mhm.
got a project that is not moving the needle and you haven't, what have you invested in it? How much time have you put into it? How much did you spend on your yarn? That kind of stuff. Is it worth it more to rip it out and just let that bugger go? Or is it something that you want to set down and maybe try
Time
it again?
out.
Maybe I need to keep it as my where I'm pushing myself, where
Yeah.
my struggle, not my struggle bus, but I can't remember the word I'm trying to say, but where I challenge. It's my challenge project. So it's okay for you to choose in here, like mental health wise. Am I gonna do well if I try to challenge myself with this, or do I need to just walk away, rip it
Yeah.
out, walk away?
Yep. Yep.
Alrighty.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, and moving right along, a sense of accomplishment and purpose. I mean, that also plays right into that. Are you going to have a sense of accomplishment if you set it aside and you keep it as your challenge project? Or are you just going to feel like I've lost all purpose in this thing? So, yeah,
Well, for me, the
you know.
sense of accomplishment is always tucking in all those ends, which we don't
Mhm.
need to get into. That can be a challenge sometimes. But the sense of accomplishment, when that is
Yeah.
done, you hold it up and there's not a single flying thing coming off that blanket, that granny square
Yeah.
blanket. It's like, ta-da, there
Yes.
it is.
Yes. I'm actually the blanket I'm planning on making for the baby. I was gonna do like a graph with a picture in it and stuff, and
Mhm.
I don't hate myself that much. So I'm going to go ahead and because I was so determined I was going to do it, but I realized It's more work that I want to do, and I am finding joy in small squares right now. And I'm going to use a couple of yours in her blanket because they're just beautiful and they're simple, and I really want this to be a simply beautiful blanket. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to start it.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I love starting new projects. That also is very cathartic for me. It's just taking the hook and taking a new ball of yarn that's absolutely gorgeous
Yes.
and starting a new project and thinking of the possibility of what that's going to be like when I finish it.
Right.
I just
Well, and I
love
guess I
that.
said that because I'm going to be tucking all my ends in as I go because I'm just crazy about tucking my ends with my squares. As I finish, that's part of the finish.
It depends upon what mood I'm in.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just, and this actually is can very much be a mental health
Oh,
observation.
yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I just need to granny square my brains out. I just need to, and not stop, just go boom, 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 boom. Yeah, boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And
Yeah.
watch the pile grow and just have my hands moving.
Yes.
And then other times I need to have that completion of the woven in ends at the end of the one granny square, put it aside, do the
Mm-hmm.
next one, weave in the ends. So for me, it's always different depending upon what mood I'm in at the
Mm-hmm.
moment as to whether I do them as I go along or at the end.
So I will say that you know how I usually don't make motif blankets. I typically just make the large one that keeps going and going. So I've found, and I know it's obviously a trend with me because it's been more than one blanket, where in the beginning I'm little miss tucking your ends. And then I get about halfway through that blanket and I am so busy focusing on I just gotta get this thing done. You know,
Yep.
that I've got probably 75 ends hanging out by the time that I'm done. And I think I still have Christmas blankets from like 2022 that I finished and I put in a tote and it still don't have their ends tucked in. So,
Yeah. That's why I try to make sure every blanket gets gifted to somebody so that
oh yes.
they have to
Well, when
be
it gets
tucked
pulled out of the
in.
tote for that purpose, it gets its ends tucked in.
There
That's
you
always
go.
the finishing part. Yeah. Alrighty. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
I just using crochet to take breaks from other things, building a routine. Like I have a routine every day. It doesn't. There are random days when I can't do this, but every day begins with crochet and coffee, and every
Mhm.
day ends with crochet and tea.
Oh, how nice.
And it gets my brain situated in the morning for the day. If I don't get lost in the crochet, it it frees up my mind to think about,
Mhm.
okay, this is what your day is going to be. This is how you're going to handle it. At the end of the day, it settles everything down so I can go to sleep. Um, it gives me a sense of control over my environment. If I
Mhm.
sit down and crochet, I know exactly what's going on. And like
Yeah.
I said, it frees up my brain to kind of work out problems. I
Mhm.
find that have the same thing happen when I go for a long walk. One of my colleagues, who's also a psychotherapist, says that that's actually a thing. That if you're having an issue and you can't quite figure out the solution to it,
Uh,
taking a break, like picking up crochet hook and just letting that go away and let your brain free up, or going for a walk and freeing yourself up from that, chances are when you come back to it, things will be a little bit clearer. So I do that all the time.
you had said freedom from like screens and stuff like that, taking a break from that kind of thing. My pattern of day is very different from yours. I usually just grab my yogurt and my fruit and I come in the office and get started on I do my Bible time and then I do school after that. And I've got some church admin things that I have to take care of And so my morning, I'm usually busy until 1:30, 2 o'clock. Sometimes I remember to eat, sometimes I don't. And then by 2 o'clock, it's too late. So of course you just got to grab chips, right? So anyway, I digress. But by 2 o'clock, so there are some times when I get myself caught in a loop of watching stupid videos on my phone.
Do you?
Yes, it's terrible. And all of a sudden, I mean, it's a very where you go, what time is it? How many hours have I been doing this? What
Oh
is
my
going on?
gosh.
I have lost all entire days. I'm not kidding you. I've lost entire days because I've just been, and I sent it to my husband, I sent it to my daughter, and I'm, 3 hours later, it's like, what are you doing? And so I have to actually force myself not to touch my phone once I leave my office because I have a tendency to get very caught up in social media. And it's not so much the social media, it's more like the reels and the little videos and
Yep.
all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I've become obsessed with watching the videos about the King's Guard at the castle in England because they have this box that nobody's supposed to step in because the horses will bite you. And you are
Right.
not supposed to touch the horse or touch the reins because, I mean, come on. And
Really.
just watching these people, like, oh my God. I mean, granted, not everybody can speak English or read English or whatever, but there are pictures up and there are signs up, and it's like, what are you doing? So anyway, I don't know why I'm obsessed with those. Why am I obsessed with those? But I will
Now that
scroll and
you're
scroll and
obsessed with
scroll and
it,
scroll, and I'm
it's
like, oh, there's a horse one.
well,
So
maybe you would be helped by regaining a sense of control.
yes. Oh, it helps me so much. Like yesterday, I made myself, girl, you just plug in your phone and set it over there. It doesn't matter what's going on. You have a sock to finish. And I finally finished that stupid sock.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so now I get to move on to the baby blanket because I was making myself finish the socks before I moved on. And now I get to.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. That's hilarious.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Anyhow.
Biz.
Yeah, I know. I'm a mess, people. I'm a mess. But it's fun. But anyway, I I think we've kind of talked the subject down. So
Well, the gist of it is
mhm,
crochet. I did see that the National Institute of Health did a survey of crocheters and knitters. So we'll
uh-huh.
give them, okay, they can be in this
We'll
party
give them
too
their
for a hot
part.
second.
Yeah,
Whatever.
they play a part in
Um,
it too.
and if you happen to knit, don't come at me. Just okay. But the result of the survey, let's see if I can find it here. It's basically everything we've said. It's that
Mhm.
um, it helped people with chronic pain take their minds off the
Yes.
chronic pain.
Mhm,
It, crocheters, as a general rule, or fiber artists, as a general rule, use their craft, whether
mhm.
it's crochet or knit, um, as a source of calming, as a source of releasing from problems, as a source of comfort. That was the main thing that came out of that survey.
Yeah.
It's not our imaginations, folks. It
No.
is for real.
Yes.
And if you are having, if there's something going on with you right now that you need just to sit for a hot second and
Uh,
release that tension and stress, pick up your crochet hook. Now pick up a project
yes.
that you don't have to think about. For me, it's granny squares. For a lot of people, it's just doing rows and rows of double crochet.
Mhm.
For Biz, it's loads of front post stitches.
Yes.
Whatever it is, make sure that that project is a mindful project. Honestly, it is one of the most beneficial things you can do for yourself
Yeah.
as a crocheter
Yeah.
to help with that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
don't be afraid to ask for help if you need to.
No, absolutely not. We're always here, throw questions in our stuff, we'll find you.
Reach out. Yep, we
Um,
gotcha.
but I remember when I first started crocheting, and I never really thought of it like this before, but I was a woman obsessed. And I tend to have obsessive tendencies. So I think I just switched one obsession for another, and just crocheted. I always joke around about how my kids lived on yogurt and Cheerios for, months when I first started crocheting because I was just obsessed with it. It's not a joke though. They really, I took care of my kids, you know what I mean? But
Well,
like,
good.
but I think it's very easy to replace and dive into something like crochet because of the positivity of it, and you're
Mhm.
chasing that good feeling.
Yep.
So, I mean, we always have to be mindful that we're not, making our kids eat yogurt and Cheerios for months. But as long as you're keeping them alive and clean, I mean, they'll be okay. But
Yes.
anyway, um, but I just remember loving it so much. All I wanted to do was touch it. All I wanted to do was crochet. And I
Mhm.
mean, I've kind of settled down a bit about it, but I think about it every day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like I
absolutely.
think about touching yarn
It's
and
with
doing
it's
something
with me
creative
everywhere.
every day.
Mhm. Yep. Not
So
a bad obsession to have, is
it
it?
is not, and I don't even know why I told that story, but
Hey.
just I mean, because sometimes we can, people with obsessive tendencies can take one obsession and replace it with another one that becomes just as bad,
Right.
because we're pouring all of our time and effort into that. But as long as you are aware of that, then, you don't have crochet can be only good and it doesn't have to be bad. So, anyway, ending with that, you and I didn't even talk about what we've been doing. I know that you've been traveling. You were traveling last week, so tell us about that.
Oh gosh, I went to Chicago for a trade show called H&H Americas, where it's fiber art centric.
Cool.
So it's not just knitting and crocheting, it's also quilting and sewing.
Oh, neat.
And so the Chicago Convention Center was just filled with yarn and crochet implements and all the stuff. Half of the convention center was quilting and sewing. I was just actually, my best friend from college opened a quilt shop in Texas.
Really?
So it's huge, people.
That's
But
cool.
anyway, I went and talked to yarn companies and saw some really cool implements I got. I don't have them here, but I found some really cool tools to use that I'm going to start posting on
Very
Instagram and
cool.
Facebook about because they're really cool. Um, Met with some colleagues of mine to kind of look at um, just all kinds of crochet related things.
Yeah.
And it was just a great time to get away from my computer, which I love because I'll spend
Mhm.
lots of time in front of it, but it can get to be a drudge. I hardly answered emails. I didn't open my computer much, got no work done.
Nice.
Oh, but came back with a load of inspiration for
Yeah.
which is what those kind of trips are for.
Yes. I'm glad that you got
And
refreshed.
yeah, refreshed and all of that kind of stuff. Not that I was in dire straits, but one thing that did happen a few weeks ago, I got the nastiest of nasty colds. Cold, oh
Oh,
my word, it was just the worst. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm the kind of person who will be on my deathbed and go, I gotta go make dinner. I gotta go do the dishes. I gotta vacuum. I'm that person. Whereas
yeah.
my husband would roll up on the couch and go, I'm dying,
Oh,
so
funny.
that sort of thing. But this one kicked my butt
Oh,
from here to there. I'm
man.
still getting over the cough, and it's been over 3 weeks.
Oh,
So
man.
I was dealing with that while I was out of town. It really was not a lot of fun, but I actually, for the first time last night, got a full night's sleep so much that when I woke up this morning, I could barely get out of bed.
Oh my gosh.
You know those,
So
those
relaxed.
dog
Yes.
tired ones that you go, there's no way I'm starting this day, but it is Friday. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. But it's been fun to get back into it. We have just been totally rained on this week. We've had 2 or 3 weeks of just rain after
Oh,
rain after
wow.
rain. My grandson's Little League baseball games have been postponed. He had one every day this week that was postponed
Oh,
every
wow.
day. So he's got 9 games that have to be made up between now and June 3rd. Not a pretty sight. It's just a sog fest around here, but I don't think we're under a drought warning anymore. I
Oh,
think I think that's gonna be lifted. Yeah, that's so
yeah.
that and the vegetation around here, I'm just gonna tell you, is absolutely stunningly gorgeous.
Oh, I bet it is.
Flowering trees, people are setting out their summer plants. The trees are how when the trees come out,
Yeah.
the leaves have this bright green color
Yes,
because they
that
haven't
almost
been
limey green
beaten.
color.
Yep, they haven't been beaten up by the summer sun yet. And it's just lush and full. I'm digging it around here. It's just so
Oh,
gorgeous.
I bet it is. We had a little bit of rain last week, not too much. It was over the weekend. And then it's been like hot. We're probably
Yeah, you've been
85.
hot.
We've been hot. I have not really been outside a whole lot. 88 right now, and partly cloudy conditions. It's sunny mostly where I'm at. It's pretty. It's Florida. It's typical. Too hot for me to be out in it. So, because the humidity. If it was only 88 degrees, we would be
Yeah.
like fine. But it's 88 plus 100% humidity.
Yeah, it's finally turned humid. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I
But
bet.
my temperature today
You get to
is
enjoy
only
all of the.
75, so we're good.
Oh,
And the sun is now out. So
oh wow, that's a nice
we're in
day.
good shape. So now we're going to get fog and steam and all those things, but
Yeah.
it's not 88, that's for sure. It's not 88.
Oh my gosh. Well, sounds amazing. Have you been watching anything interesting or new besides baseball?
No, we're lots of baseball. Um that that isn't my little league grandsons. Um
Oh
Lots of
yeah.
Phillies. Yeah, and yeah, I haven't watched a lot of TV because I didn't watch anything while I was out of
Yeah.
town, and since since we got back, we've just kind of defaulted to baseball. So nothing new. What about you?
No, same here. I'm just recycling movies that I know, like The Shining and that kind of stuff. I haven't felt like anything new because I'm not sure that I really am interested in or like any of the new stuff that's coming out. Um, I still have to watch Reacher. I don't know what my husband's hesitation is, but every time I'm like, "Hey, let's start season 3,"
Oh my gosh, it's
he's
so
like,
good.
"Do we have to
So
do that right now?"
good.
I'm starting to wonder if maybe he doesn't want to look at Alan. Is that his name, Alan?
Yeah, he's pretty.
He is
He's
pretty.
really pretty.
Anywho,
This season, I really loved this season because it was a completely different premise. Um, from the other season. So
yeah,
and usually they'll do kind of the same formula. They did not this time, and it was really good.
I might
So
have to strong arm him and
yeah,
make him watch that with
yeah.
me. Because otherwise, it's just we've been doing a lot of stupid trash reality TV because that's all we watch, and NCIS. I mean, we've been humming through NCIS as well.
Don't tell me what the finale is for the season because I've been seeing Scuttlebutt and I'm not
Oh, we're
sure how I
not on the
feel
new
about it.
season. We're not. We're
Oh,
watching.
gotcha.
We're catching up. We started at
Okay.
season 1. I think we're in
Okay.
season 4.
Oh, you've got 18
Mhm.
to go. So
Oh yeah.
there we go.
No, you won't hear anything new from me concerning NCIS for a really long time.
Okay, good. Good.
So, alrighty. Well, I think that we have basically covered all the information. And once again, we are not doctors. We don't proclaim to have, studied
We
this
are
in
not
depth. We have
experts.
we have watched documentaries and read articles.
we have done our research, but we are crochet experts, and we can certainly relate to the benefits of crochet and how it relates to mental health. So that's where our expertise comes into play.
Yes. All right. So I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. It looks like it's going to be pretty here. Hopefully it's pretty there. And you have a great time. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
And I hope you dive in and really pay attention to what your crochet is doing for you, or your knitting, whatever you're touching. Just be happy.
Same.
All right, everybody, take care. You guys be blessed.
Bye.
Bye.